What is going on, everybody? King Recon here, man. And once again, just like last week, this episode just really hit home. You know, this week especially, there was two things that I absolutely loved. Number one was the art, particularly on their faces, man. I'm talking about like Nobume's on point, especially in the flashback. Jesus Christ, amazing. Isaburo's fantastic. My boy Hijikata's, Kondo's. I mean, specifically there's just the art that was on their faces, and I think it was really the light that was projecting off of their faces. I just looked like the night. Gintama in the night always looks nice, so I expected this, but God, it just looked beautiful. I was like, yo, they just look amazing. They look great. They look good. Now, in this week's episode covered chapters 537 and 540. And after receiving the news yesterday that the Gintama anime is indeed ending at the end of this month, you know, we were expecting a little pace change, but it didn't feel rushed. It felt just right. Next week, the anime is going to cover chapters 541 to 545. I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys know chapter 544 is my most reread chapter in all of manga. I don't think I've ever, besides I think the first Ichigo Bankai chapter, I don't think I've ever read a chapter more than the chapter 544 entitled Memories of the Sword. That chapter, I reread it so many times. I went on vacation for after the chapter came out. That's whenever I went on vacation for a whole weekend, and I literally sat because I downloaded the chapter on my phone. And I just constantly reread it every time I could, whether I came out the bathroom, whether I was in the bathroom, or I was about to go to sleep, whenever I was just waiting for food, whenever I was talking to my friends at the time, my girl, you know, I would just like look down, I'd be like, Jesus, that chapter really left me mesmerized. I didn't know what to do. I was just in so much like holy shit, because that chapter is freaking phenomenal. 544. But getting into the stuff that happens this week, I'm just giving a little heads up for him. Next week is going to be insane. I expect next week to be the most well-animated episode of this season. Or not of this season, of this arc. Because it's very important to the story of Gintama. But I still think the most well-animated episode is going to be 305, period. And in this week's episode, I saw the sparks, and Mayo can probably clarify for me. I didn't really get to take a chance to see who the animator was or anything like that this week. But we did see the sparks flying whenever they swung at each other with their swords and whatnot. So it really brought back the animation style from 514 to 517, which was episode 304. So it really brought back that style. So I was thinking, I was like, man, and the art on their face is really good too. So maybe that director came back for just like he did for that episode, because this week's episode was really well done, really well done. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The flashback sequences were perfect and everything. But before I get into the actual story, the other thing I want to touch upon besides the art was the soundtrack placement. The new soundtrack that they have literally brought me to tears. I'm recording this around 6 to 7 hours after I watched the episode, so I was literally in tears. I was in tears at whenever Nobume and Sasaki has held the sword to her face. Like, why? But why do you draw those? Why do you shed those? Oh man, the tears falling down. The soundtrack is playing. I was like, Christ Almighty, this is. But I can't hold it in anymore. That new soundtrack is phenomenal. 10 out of 10 soundtrack. I love it. I absolutely love it. Next week we're probably gonna hear the final soundtrack we're gonna hear. But yo, that soundtrack was perfect. I was like, dude, it was so sad. Like, and it just fits so well with the way the flashback was and everything. In this week's episode, we even get to see the formation of Shinsengumi and how it was all a part of this mission. Look, man, the porn thing was that was hilarious. Matsudaira in there and Isaburo. We even get to find out why the text messages are so important to Isaburo. Sasaki Isaburo is a phenomenal character, guys. In this aspect, you take a character like Nobume, who she in of herself is a great character as well. But you take a person like Sasaki Isaburo, into which we've always wondered why he had that gag of always wanting to text people back, always texting people. But it's because he never used to text his wife back, right? So then, after Matsudaira gave him that thing, that's whenever he started, talking more on the on his phone, whatever, because he had to get used to doing that in order to talk to the new chicks in the new generation. When the whole joke, but he seriously started using his phone more after that, and then the title of that chapter, man, undelivered email, and there's an MMV for this entire arc that's called that. Don't watch it if you haven't watched or read the whole arc, because it has huge spoilers. But it's called undelivered email. And look, man, it's so sad. And the lighting, the red and black lighting that they showed in that scene, that shit reminded me of when Itachi slaughtered the Uchiha. I was like, yo, this flashback is godlike. It looks great. So Isaburo, he's running down. We get to see the camera panning from it's as if the camera was following Isaburo just running through the forest, and you're just running behind him. It was really, really cool effect. And Isaburo's running. And then he arrives. He's sitting here trying to send the message, and it keeps failing. It keeps failing. It will not deliver the message. And he's trying to deliver because throughout the entire episode, he was sitting here trying to think of what to name his daughter. He even talked to Kondo about it. Just the entire episode, he's talking back to his wife. He's like, I don't know what to name my daughter. She's about to be born in a couple weeks. So he's over. He finally found a name, and he's sending the message, and it will not send. He arrives. He sees a whole bunch of dead bodies. The assassination plot that they heard that was going down, it actually went down here, and sitting on top of them. And this was the cliffhanger for us manga readers, if you remember. Nobume is sitting there, young Nobume, after we saw the flashback where she was talking to Isaburo, saying that we are just killers who strayed down the wrong path, which is a phenomenal little part right there, by the way. I love that dialogue. But getting that portion right here, and you see Nobume looking back, the moon, just the effects right there were godlike. She's looking back, and Isaburo, the first thing he does, you see a savage face, he pulls out his sword, just takes the sword out of her hand, and then goes down and puts it in her face. And the thing is about this entire sequence that makes it so sad, is that he states, it's like, I'm coming to you and to Nobume. That he was going to name his daughter Nobume, and we remember that the Nobume we know, the Miwarigumi, her original name was Makuro. But after this whole sequence, he took in this girl. He took in her. He took in her after what we saw happen. He took in her, called her his daughter, and proceeded to give her the same name as the daughter he was going to have. And Isaburo does it, with pain in his heart, but damn it, he understands. He understands the situation. He understands that the world is not black and white. He understands that there was a reason behind what she did. There was a reason. She's only a child, and he understood that. And that hits home. That's really sad, and it hurts. That entire dialogue sequence between Isaburo and Makuro right there. God, when she was tearing up, dude, I was tearing up. It was so sad, so well done. The anime did this portion better than the manga did. I can promise you that the anime did this portion better than the manga did, because in the manga I felt it, but damn it, in the anime I felt it even more. And it was sad. Ooh, it was sad. And it was just great. And then we were seeing glimpses with narration between Oboro and the way we would talk about his the children, and we would see little things towards the Shinsengumi. And I love how it all tied together: narration from Nobume, narration from Sasaki, narration from Kondo, narration from Matsudaira, narration from Oboro. And you're seeing all these things come together. Ginchoki's fighting against Oboro. That little sequence with Nobume and Sogo going after each other, that was beast. And it was awesome. Sasaki when Hijikata showed up, Shinsengumi! And he came in there, and they started, the squad came out, and caught, Elizabeth brought the thing from the earlier episode. Shout out to the gags being remembered. They're just going in. Elizabeth has Kotsu on his back, because Kotsu can barely move. And then, oh my God, when Sasaki states, he's like, man, being a villain is so tough, And that's when we see the Tensho and Naraku. They are here. They are going to they're not taking any names. They're just going to start straight going in. And Sasaki always knew the enemy he had to go against. And now we're going to get the Mimiwarigumi and the Shinsengumi going against true enemy, basically. And the whole thing about this entire sequence that I absolutely love was what he said about the villain thing, man. Because that wasn't even that chapter. It was called Villain. How Sasaki's been playing the villain the whole time. He was playing the villain the whole time. For the sake, I mean, it's because of him that basically shit's gonna make him to be like, for the sake of Nobumi, man. Like, oh, dude, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The whole male thing, how it fits together with that gag, perfect. I love this week's episode. Episodes like this remind me why I'm a tard and why I love Gintama so much, right? It really reminds me why it's number one, and it's like, Jesus, I really love this week's episode, guys. The Hijikata, when Hijikata came up in there, he yelled the Shisagumi line, and then the oh man, the line, yo. I'm gonna pull up this panel right here. I love this panel so much. This was, I believe, it was, yeah, because it was just one of the first chapters I did the live reaction to. But down there, I put this as the thumbnail for damn sure. We are taking back our general. The artwork displayed in this panel was just done so, I mean, his artwork has been getting a godlike, especially those two arcs, Shogun Assassination for Ocean, but damn, yo, like, that panel was so amazing. But yeah, guys, chapters 537 and 540, and ended off with Kagura stopping Nobumi. Oh man, when Nobumi started tearing up in the middle battle, and Sogo was looking at her like, oh man, and the transition scene in the middle, where she looked back after she asked, "Why do you fight?" And oh man, beautiful. Jesus, I love this anime, but it was just such a phenomenal episode on all standpoints, and it was so well paced. Nothing seemed rushed. Everything felt so good. It felt together, and it felt great. It was really, really good. Definitely, the Pharaoh Shinsengumi is definitely getting that patient it deserves. And man, Kagura is coming in there at the end and stopping them. That's how the episode, and that's how chapter 540 ended. So now we're going to get next week a Star of Freedom, which is chapter 541, and the chapter 545, which is what the episode's called Karma next week. Now, like I said before, next week's episode is going to have some very, very important stuff to the series of Gintama, so I'm expecting high quality stuff as they've been putting out almost the entire arc, or actually the entire arc, and so yeah, I'm expecting a phenomenal episode next week. I'm expecting a phenomenal episode in all standpoints, and it's going to have some stuff that after next week's episode, because next week's episode is gonna have something very controversial, but it's also gonna have something that is really going to it really leaves its mark in the story of Gintama. That's for damn sure, and I can't wait to see you guys' reactions for it, especially for you anime onlys. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you're gonna how you're going to respond to it, how you're gonna feel about it. And it's going to be a really, really important moment to the thing of Gintama. And I'm definitely referring to chapter 544. That chapter, man, it seriously is my most reread chapter besides Ichigo's first Bankai chapter. Just really, really good stuff, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you anime owners are gonna think, and I'm excited to see what BNP is gonna bring to the table with this one. But overall, guys, this week's episode of Gintama for me gets an awesome sauce, straight up 10 out of 10. Flashbacks was done so well with Kondo and them boys. It was awesome. The comedy moments were done great. The soundtrack placement was great. The art was great. Animation, I had nothing to say about it. It just the main highlights was of course the flashback sequences with Makuro and Isaburo. Just phenomenal stuff there with Nobumi. Whenever she was talking to Sogo about it, the tears would come out. The facial expressions, the art on the faces, the Shinsengumi. We're taking back our general. Just I can't complain, man. It was an overall phenomenal episode that it reminded me why I'm a tard. It reminded me why I love this series so much, and Shinsengumi for the win, man. And listen, man, Sasaki, he's a phenomenal character. It's like that's a Sorachi specialty, grabbing all these characters and just turning them into such exemplary characters, especially like Sasaki, man. Seriously, taking in Nobume, yo. After all, and like Nobume herself, where she's like, I'm the one that has to kill that man. No one else can do it but me. And it's like, Jesus, like they really do have a strong connection to each other. And I love the whole donut thing. I love how she had the donut gag even before all of this. the whole porn thing with Masudara is just, that's what makes Gintama so special. The way it can balance all that together and still make you cry. Just somewhere in the middle. Because that scene really did make me cry, man, when Makuro was crying. I was like, God almighty, this is killing me. But you guys have an awesome day. Gintama AwesomeSauce for the win, episode 313. Gets a straight up awesome sauce from me. Leave me your thumbs down below on this week's episode of Gintama. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys next week. Yeah!